This episode of Doug's Open Mic is brought to you in part by Mystic River Acupuncture, ancient medicine for a modern world. Come down and try their safe and effective methods to improve your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Use them for prevention or from quicker healing from injury and illness. Their clinic offers a wide range of services from acupuncture, Chinese herbs, therapeutic massage, cupping, magnet therapy, and so much more. Doug, you have a long history with Kathleen Poole, the owner. Can you tell us a little bit about why she's uniquely qualified to help your listeners?
So I've known Kathleen for many years. She's a fellow musician, and as such, she's uniquely qualified. She knows the musician ailments. We do a lot of repetitive motions, and she's got some solutions for that. I've even seen her at various gigs that I've been at, taking musicians into a back room and fix them up right then. Kind of repairs on site.
That's awesome. And not only that, of course, she can help. She has 30 years experience in the business. And if you're wondering, the clinic also has senior days and community acupuncture clinics. So really, whatever you're looking for, they can help. And whatever your situation is, they can help. The clinic is conveniently located in the city of Groton near I-95, Route 1 and Thames Street. For more information, call 860-448-6766 or visit them at mysticriveracupuncture.com.
Welcome to Doug's Open Mic, a podcast spotlighting local musicians, bands, and songwriters.
Hi there, DUG here on Doug's Open Mic. Got a new episode coming for you. We have Marc Douglas Berardo here today with us, longtime friend. Part of the episode is going to be, I'm going to try to go back into the past to see if we can actually figure out when this thing whole started. So say hello, Marc.
Yeah, good to see you, Doug.
Good. So I ran into Marc down Perks the other night, and longtime Perks guy, and so am I. So we know each other. So, Marc, what we usually do, kind of start off with your early years. Like, when did you start playing guitar? Why did you start playing?
Yeah.
All that stuff that you've been asked 100 times before. But
I have, but, my story is not exactly the same as everybody else's story, generally, at least the people I know. I came to it slightly later. I grew up outside of New York City, in the suburbs, Rye, New York. I went to high school in Rochelle, New York. I have two older brothers. One's 10 years older than me, and I still play with him and work with him all the time. They were both rock and roll guys.
Oh, we're going to talk to him. Talk about him for sure.
Yeah, well, he's a fascinating character. He's his own show, as they say.
He is.
But I came to it a little bit later because most people get like a guitar early on or join a band in high school and thrash about or something and play the rock and roll hits. I didn't until I got to my first year of college did I even get a guitar. But I was in Boston in college, and I brought a guitar with me and started playing it there, not going to class or doing anything I was supposed to do. But because I took to it very fast, it came easy, and I was playing gigs almost that 6 months later after I got a guitar. I had some very bad experiences, but I tried to go out into the world and play. But so I came to it a little later than a lot of normal people. But I have been doing it for 30 years, since then. Like I've always said, it's been one long day since I first got the guitar. I've never really looked back, And I always had an acoustic guitar and wasn't in different phases of music or in a rock band or a metal band, and then came to this. I was always this same guy. So
for those that don't know, Marc is one of those true professional musicians. I mean, a lot of the people that we have here, just due to circumstances and whatever, they have full-time jobs and they pursue music as their passion, as a hobby. There are not too many full-time musicians. It's not easy. It's but the ones that we've had, Craig Edwards, we've had here. He's a full-time.
Yeah,
and
Westerly and the surrounding areas of Westerly. One of the things about Westerly is that there are a lot of very talented musicians and songwriters and, in so many ways. Just going to an open mic at Perks and Corks on a Monday night, there's always one or two things you're like, well, that's as good as anything, But yeah, doing it full time, that's a whole different choice. And it doesn't diminish anybody who doesn't do it, because it's not I've learned over the years, it's not an award or something like you're better than everybody, so you're full time. It's not that. It's just generally who wanted to do it and who didn't, because there's certainly a lot of talent that can do it, And I go out into the world, and there's a lot of things in town here that are better than, the stuff that's out there. So,
well, you have to have a certain mindset too, and I have my own consulting of your income week to week, month to month is going to vary wildly, and you have to be prepared for that.
There's a certain amount of to me, a lot of life is the squares on a calendar, and filling those up are really important for the month ahead, and you don't get much further than, for me nowadays, it's 4 to 5 months ahead, It used to be day to day early on, but you have to kind of have the stomach for the great songwriter John Gorka. Are you familiar with him?
Yes,
Gorka,
absolutely.
Gorka has a song and a line in a song that's really great. It's you have to have a heart for art's sake and a stomach for the business, and that's kind of what it is.
Yeah,
it's like if you don't have the backbone for it, it may not be for you, because it can be pretty scary and crushing. But at times the rewards, I equate it often to like playing golf. You hit a really good shot and you think everything's great, and the next shot you duff it into the lake or something, and it's every shot is different, and you feel humbled every day by something. Everything could take you off the track at any moment. So
yeah, and gigs and projects and everything else, they vary wildly. Sometimes, like you said, you just kind of hold, you're in some bar and nobody's listening to you, and it's loud, and all they want to hear is covers, and you know what? That's what it is. There's your shot in the pond. Right there and then the next time you might go to the same bar, and a few people listen to you, and some of your friends show up, and you get a nice thing going, and it's you got on the green. I like the golf thing.
Yeah, it's a golf metaphor. For me, honestly, these days it's like I've had, at this point in my life, like I have left like a huge stage opening for some heroes of mine one night, and 1,000 seats, great gig, food backstage, the whole thing. You feel like a real big shot, and the next night had a bar gig for 3 people, but that's the way it is. And they're equally, at this point in my life, they're equally as interesting to me, because I don't take any gigs that I don't necessarily want to do. Nothing that I used to play bars all the time when I started, but I play once a month in town here, and then occasionally it's some places like Sneakers or something when I'm around. But I like those gigs now. Yeah. Where there was a time where it could get really frustrating and overwhelming, that you feel like people are just not getting what you're getting. But yeah, it's all part of the fun now,
Well, where are you based out of?
Oops.
What's that?
Where are you based out of?
Well, I live here in Westerly now.
Oh, okay.
I grew up outside of New York City. At various points in my life, I had moved for a long time down to Florida and California, like people do. But I've been here. I keep saying I've been in Westerly for 3 years, but it's been 15. It all happened so fast, But I love it here, and I love it here because there's so much great music. There's places to play, and there's a scene almost every night. If you think about it, there's somewhere you can go see some music. And there's some great, some of my favorite songwriters anywhere live here. For instance, Sandy Allen.
Sandy Allen
is one of my favorites.
Yep.
Just when he plays, I want to be there. I enjoy, it's a thing I enjoy. That kind of thing. And there's a bunch of that around town. Phil Adams. Boy.
Will Julian.
Yeah, Will. He's great. Will Evans. Both Wills.
Brad Bensko.
Yeah, there's so many. And places like the Tap Room now, where I'll get to every couple months.
Yep.
There's something interesting in there all the time. It's not always my cup of tea, but it's definitely, you could tell it's passionate, and people who's doing it cares about it. It's great. Yeah.
No, I was so thrilled the other day. Somebody called me up for a last minute gig, and it was like, and usually I play it with Craig, but I was like, Craig, can you play Friday night? And he was like, literally called me Wednesday for a Friday. He was like, no, I'm gone. It's like, so I looked at my contacts and go, Sandy Allen, would you consider playing with me at such and such? And
oh,
he
nice.
did.
It was
great.
Well, that's the double threat about our friend Sandy Allen is that he's not only a great songwriter, but he also can play slide.
Oh, he plays
lap steel and,
Yep.
and mandolin. And, he's just, I had him sit in with me my last monthly gig at Perks and Corks last time I played there. And it's great. I forget also that he's that guy as well. He could just be that guy.
And the lap steel stuff, I've always been amazed that and I've talked about this before, when he's the side man playing the lap steel, he knows his role perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
He knows when to be soft. He knows when to be loud. He knows when to be quiet. He knows when to,
that's a skill set.
It is a skill.
That's not just a thing that people are born, like that's a skill set of knowing and doing it enough to learn how to be that guy.
To be the guy.
Yeah.
We need more of those guys.
Speaking of your Sandy Allens and obviously yourself, Marc Douglas Berardo, Phil Adams and everybody, the Wills, one of the best places in town to see those guys are Perks and Corks in the heart of downtown Westerly on High Street. Perks and Corks has live music 6 nights a week, open mics on Mondays nights, wonderful martinis, and an eclectic array of grilled cheeses. They are one of the sponsors of the show, which is why I'm going into this weird ad pitch right now.
That's accurate, and not to interrupt, but Perks and Corks has done very good things for me because they allow me to kind of play whenever I want and run wild in there, really, actually. And it's true. The thing, Brian Kilty, who owns, what he has committed to music in that place. And I think that's great, and it can be loud on a Saturday night, Friday night, whatever, but it's also like people know there's music there. So they're going to come and it's great. And there's a lot of good things that are there, that play. And we're so lucky to have that in Westerly, honestly. The Knickerbocker where I play also, and I have a great affinity for, is great. But those are it's a bigger room for special shows. The Tap Room is great. They do it not every night of the week, and it's a different kind of vibe. So if you took Perks and Corks out of the equation, essentially, in town, it would be a big hole,
Oh, yeah.
for music,
Definitely. Will you play us a song?
Sure, yeah.
Awesome.
I'll play a song. I'll play a number that'll wake me up today because I woke up late today. You were asking, sort of where I started. Like I said, I got a guitar in Boston. I went to Northeastern University randomly. It sounded like a city and a place to go, and it's a very big school. This was 1987. And I got there, and basically I was supposed to be like a history major, and I ended up just playing guitar, and I found some dudes, that were doing that too. And so eventually the university and I decided that wasn't the place for me because of my 1.6 grade point average. And I ended up down in Florida. I went to school in Florida and finished down there. But I recently went back and I wrote down this song about those days. So this is called Boston. Looking back, I thought I knew it all, 19 years old. Dropped off in the city feeling wild and bold. Wandering the Fenway with no money, no plan, but man, life had begun. Supposed to switch trains at Park Place, but I did not care. Every day I was riding the red line up to Harvard Square with a guitar and a heart full of what I thought was poetic despair. Man, I was up for it all. So here I am, all these years on. Of course, I'm wondering where the time has gone. Oh, Boston, you're looking at a very different man. And I'm searching for what I was back then, and I'm walking your streets again. Yeah. You got psychedelic cartoon children in the afternoon. Got them out on the streets and they are baying at the moon. It was all so full of meaning then, so maybe it was true. But once you get that high, you can only feel low. You wanna walk and meet the man in a Mission Hill alleyway. He got me walking Commonwealth Avenue all the way to Back Bay. The twilight made me long for my home again. Even then was the loneliest time of day. So here I am all these years on. Of course I'm wondering where the time has gone. Old Boston, you're looking at a very different man. And I'm searching for what I was back then. I'm walking your streets again. Not sure I'd recognize who I was in those days, so I'm searching every corner through the fog and haze for the unknown, unwashed soul lost to time and space, gone now without a trace. So here I am all these years on. Of course I'm a-wondering where that time has gone. Oh, Boston, and you're looking at a very different man tonight. And I'm searching for what I was back then, and I'm a-walking your streets again. Boston.
That was awesome.
Oh, thank you, man.
So I grew up in Walpole, which is right outside of Boston.
Yeah.
So I used to, even in high school, I used to take field trips into Boston.
Yeah.
And I actually went to school in Boston for a year when I was between high school and college because I had to get my grades up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was great. Boston's great fun. Yeah.
Well, Boston in the late 80s was a musical place, and it was overwhelming. There was some of my heroes were already playing there, like Ellis Paul and Gorka, and had Passim, the great club, like at least for guys with acoustic guitars, but I was not part of that. I was, my first gig really ever was in a place called O'Brien's in Alston, that section of town.
Yep.
And I played for 3 old guys, basically, and one guy turned around and gave me the finger in the middle.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
But another thing happened that day that I've told the story before, that the bartender came around. It was like a happy hour kind of gig, and I played like 2 songs 4 times because I didn't have any songs and I wasn't very good at all. And he came over and he said, "Hey, I can't pay you for this because you're not good." And I was like, that's awful. And then he said, "But
It's true.
you could drink some beers for free, just have a couple and hang around." I was like, "Yeah,
No,
I'm going to do this forever."
I'll probably make more money that way.
Yeah, exactly. That always seemed, and it still feels like that. It still feels like you get some free beer out of it. I'm like, yeah, well, this is a great gig. Yeah, it's happening now. It's nice.
So, this is a little off topic, but it's so good. I can't resist but asking. So long time ago, tell the Dynamite story. This story is one of my favorite stories. The statute of limitations is gone.
I mean, I don't know that it is. The statute of limitations is gone, but I will tell the story briefly. And it's not, some things. I am professionally a makeup story artist. So, but this is somewhat true, and it happened when I first moved to town. Actually moved to a house in Pawcatuck, and it was near the river, just up from Mechanic Street. You know where that is. And it was one of my first nights out in town, and I met a guy who said he worked at the quarry, and I don't know, we got to talking, and we got to drinking, and we got to, talking some more, and he's like, we started talking about dynamite, and I said, yeah, if you can get some, let's blow some up. And he said, I can get a stick of dynamite, I have it in my shed. And I said, well, I
sounds like a bad idea already.
Yeah.
Dynamite and alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. And it looking back, it's a crazy scheme, the whole thing. But so somehow we ended up back at my place, and I had this big sort of backyard. There's no one on either side. There was just trees, and in the back there was nothing. But it was like a neighborhood. But I thought that blowing up a stick of dynamite was like a big M80 or a firecracker or something. And it turns out it is not like that at all. It is a bad idea. He did the thing like the cartoons, the little wire thing with the little, I was hoping it would be the
plunger,
the little plunger, but it's a little twisty deal. It's a little cap twister, and we set the whole thing up, and it exploded, and it reverberated, and it was so bad that I felt everything shake, and he ran. I never saw this man again in my life. He made a run for it. And it was almost, in my memory, it was like seconds later that I heard sirens and...
This was not long after 9/11 too, right?
Oh, that's true. And that was an equally big mistake. The only smart move I made is when they showed up, I heard fire engines coming. There was a local police first. He came around the corner to the back, and I fessed up to everything. I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I know why you're here. I know why you're mad. And that was the worst idea ever, And they were so mad. And this, then firemen come and the whole thing happens. And then eventually state troopers have to come. And then the DEA came the next day, but that's a different thing. And, but we were standing around the pit, which still exists on this property. It essentially created a large crater, like a smoking crater. And after they had realized that I was completely contrite and that this whole thing was a mistake, there were firemen standing around. They had to use their handheld fire extinguishers just to put this fire thing out, And, we were standing and everybody was kind of staring into the pit and the fire, we were all it was late. And one of the firemen asked me, and I was a little drunk and a little tired, and everybody was kind of like, it was traumatic, And he asked me, hey, why did you do it though? What made you do it? And I said, that low rumble sound you get when you hear like at a rock concert that hits you right in the stomach? I love that sound. And he went, and like three of the firemen all went like, yeah, that's cool. And I thought, okay, I think we're going to be all right. They're all like, yeah, I agree. That's great. So that went on. And then there was a lot of follow-up and stuff, but my neighbors didn't speak to me for the longest time. And I met a guy like 2 years later.
I can't imagine why.
Dogs were barking, car alarms were going off. And I met a guy who lived on the river in this house that was dangerously close to the river. It's now gone. The flood of 2010 took his little shack essentially away. But he said it created a reverberation on the ground and water came into his house from the river. It like lapped over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's powerful and a really bad idea. So don't blow up dynamite.
Here's the funny thing about that story that I find so fascinating is like, you didn't know, you don't have the experience with dynamite, right?
No.
But this guy worked at the quarry and had dynamite in his shed.
But he also had a cigarette in his mouth when he was laying out the wires and everything. Yeah. Well, that guy was the guy that's the real trouble because you're not really supposed to have that. So
right. Yeah. But also you have to assume he's the one that knows what a stick of dynamite's going to do.
Like he just thought it's not my property and I'm going to make a run for it. And he did. It was bad.
Oh, that's insane.
It was insane.
And also, since you fessed up to everything 15 years ago or whatever, the statute of limitations doesn't really matter. You already...
Yeah, the authorities were there. The authorities were there in spades.
That's the most ridiculous story that has ever been told on this show, and I love it.
They had to search the house later, and I got told that they were coming, but they had to go through the house because they need to find out if you have other weapons of destruction anywhere, And that was rough because I had to, think about it for a second.
And how long had you been in town?
Oh, like not long, a week.
So that's one way to make a name for yourself.
For sure, but I definitely it ruined me with my neighbors. I'll tell you that much. But I think they all got over it eventually. And to this day, I feel like I probably would have done it again anyway because it was kind of fun too.
Or you can just start using it as a moniker. You could be Dynamite Marc Douglas Berardo.
With an actual reason. I like it because I've used that defense myself, usually with traffic incidents. When all of a sudden the state trooper, it's like, do you know why you pull me over? Yes, I do, officer. I'm an idiot.
I guess I'm aware that
I'm an idiot. So do what you got to do. I realize that, I know exactly I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That recently happened to me actually near the gas station, Evans Mobile. It was early morning. I just was waking up and I got a cup of coffee and I was driving and I pulled to the intersection that's there where you can see C.C. O'Brien's in the distance. And there was a state trooper, not a regular police officer, but a state trooper parked watching the intersection for some reason. And I saw him and I waved at him. He made eye contact with me through his window and I rolled through the stop sign and he turned his lights on and pulled me over right in front of C.C. O'Brien's. And when he came walking over to the car, I was already laughing because I knew exactly what I did. And he just came up real slow with the hat, real scary. And he said, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, I have a really good idea why. And he said, I needed mostly to pull you over to see what kind of guy would see me, wave at me, and roll through the stop sign. And I went, it was me. I knew what I did. I'm completely guilty. I'm aware of it. And then,
there it is.
And then he said, I said, well, in my defense, you kind of were blocking the intersection. I had to see around you to see if a car was coming. He said, "It's my fault now?" And I went, No. I'm not suggesting it was your fault. I take full responsibility.
No.
He let me go and walked back to the car, and I heard him laugh. So I thought, okay, I got away with that one,
That's awesome. Will you play us another song?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't know which song. Here's the thing. Let me do this for you. We got time, right?
Yeah. You know what? It doesn't do. We get as much time as we want. If we break up the episode sometimes, if we have to break it up to 3 parts, who cares?
All right. Well, I'll play you sort of a story song about a guy that I met I lived in Northern California, in Santa Cruz, California, in the hills above Santa Cruz, called Bonnie Doon. And it was like a hippie enclave. It was the place where like Volkswagen's vans went to like live at the end of their life. It was that kind of place. And so I used to sit in this place, the Brookdale Lodge. It's probably still there. And I met this guy named Lightning, and I made up this song about him. I don't know if it's all true, but again, it doesn't have to be all true, right?
Artistic license.
"1966, the world was just waking up and coming to. In San Francisco, the Beatles played Candlestick, and everything was feeling brand new. The Beatles had all left North Beach, and the scene had moved to the park. In the middle of all that, my man Lightning lit up the dark. He was born Charlie McChristie in an East Coast suburban town. He was a country club kid with a silver spoon, playing on the fresh cut ground. All the teachers called him brilliant, and all the girls, they loved his face. But he could not feel the love inside. First chance he got, he lit up out of that place. Like lightning, he was flashing, and he's off and on, and then he was gone, Took a scholarship to San Francisco State, had all the promise in the world, but he soon discovered pills in the carousel ballroom and free love girls. And it didn't take long to change him. Lightning stopped going to class. A few hits of Owsley will do that to you. A few hits of that'll put you on your ass. Well, his hippie friends, they called him a lightning, and that suited him just fine. In fact, his mind was moving fast and always working overtime. See, he had the idea for the space phone and personal arithmetic machine, but the drugs kept the genius bottled up, and they remained just dreams. He could not bottle the lightning that was a flashing off and on, brother, then he was gone. They were throwing around the I-Ching, they were dancing around the fire. It would be hard to find a place on earth that was a getting any higher. Got your LSD, mescalito. Lightning passed that acid test, but he could not feel the love inside, and it left him disillusioned and depressed. Yeah, the 60s, they slid into the 70s, and Lightning drifted further west to a beach shack in Lahaina. But by then he was just a mess, and the dope was replaced by hard liquor and an anger inside To him, the free love dream was over. To him, it was a lie. Yeah, he drowned one night in Kauai, drunk on stolen cheap champagne. His Hawaiian friends at the funeral didn't know his real name. But that's just a thumbnail sketch of lightning. Man, he came and then he went. See, 1 minute you're here, then you disappear. Your life lost in the firmament. You're like lightning. You are flashing and you're off and on. And then you are gone. And you're like lightning. You are flashing and you're off and on. And then you are gone.
Nice. I love songs with stories. That's why I particularly like Lyle Love It. Yeah, and stuff.
Wow,
And,
sure.
and let's hope that it didn't turn out that way for Lightning. For that,
You know,
for
you're
the
a
guy.
keen observer because that last part's made up.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank
know
God.
what happened to him. I really
Oh,
don't.
really? It's like
It just seemed like a conglomeration of other people
it's
I knew
great.
from that time.
Yeah.
A lot of them ended up in Hawaii,
not a bad place to end up.
they all lived around San Francisco and stuff, that sort of, those particular characters of that generation. And Hawaii, was the next logical step. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just the way I see it anyway.
So there was a big contingent of people that kind of surfers. There's actually a little surfing haven in El Salvador. I was
for
going
sure,
to El
yeah.
Salvador. Yep,
And
then-
Costa Rica and El Salvador.
Yep, and El Salvador, and you can literally go to El. I mean, I was in the plane one guy going back. He goes, "Oh, I had so much." He goes, "I'm going to go back, sell my truck for $500. I can come back here for 2 months."
Wow, yeah.
I mean, because the weather's so good. I mean, you can literally rent 2 trees 10 feet apart, put a hammock apart, and just
And
sleep there at night.
You're good.
You're good.
Yeah. Well, that's the dream for some people.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I've always thought so,
Yeah. We're almost out of time
All right, we need
for this
to do
episode.
an ad.
We do. We're gonna do that right now.
We have to do something.
Wonderful transition, Doug. So this episode is also brought to you in part by Boneyard Barbecue in Ashaway. Boneyard Barbecue in Ashaway has an awesome open mic themselves on Wednesday nights. Doug, you went this week.
I did. They just changed it. We're on Sunday afternoons, which probably not the best idea during football season. But they quickly realized their error of their ways, let's say, and they moved it to Wednesday. And I went there on Wednesday just to check out the new time, and they were doing fine.
That's awesome. And they also have a great selection of food, wonderful wings, and
Wasabi, cucumber, very good.
Yep, and all sorts of specials. Check them out. Boneyard Barbecue in Ashaway. It's a great time.
Nice.
All right, so where can people find you? Where can people listen to your music?
Oh, well, all the obvious places, I would say. I have a website, of course, and that's marcdouglas.com, M-A-R-C, Douglas, D-O-U-G-L-A-S.com. And then, everywhere else, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. And there's links to all of those things on the web page. The records are available, iTunes, Amazon, all the normal spots. There's stuff on YouTube, not enough stuff on YouTube, but there's stuff and full schedule of gigs usually. Yeah.
We will have Mark back, and in the next episode we have him back. We'll talking about what it is CDs that he has. How many CDs do you have out?
I think 7. I think
7?
I'm in the middle
See,
of working on number 8. I think.
I would have guessed 4.
No.
But cool.
I
have 1 or 2.
7.
I'm behind. I guess.
My first one was 1990. 97, 98, something like that. So and there was a bunch in a row, and then,
All right.
so they
That's for next time. See, we already got them hooked in for next time.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we will be back soon.